Well, it sounds like I'm talking. It doesn't sound like I normally talk, so I guess it's okay, right? It's weird. Hi, everybody. Am I on?
You're on here.
Oh, hi, everybody. Well, once again, I'm working through all this cyber stuff. I just got out the hyperbaric chamber, and I think I'm a little, ooh, I feel greater. Okay. Yeah, that's why these, see, I feel, now I feel like I sound like me. Do I need these? Okay, thank you. It was. So welcome to today's free information seminar. I feel so grateful that you're here to spend this time with me. I'll tell you 2 seconds about myself if you're brand new. I'm Karyn Calabrese, and I've been a raw vegan for over 50 years, not the whole 50 years, but I've been on a journey of healing and health for 50 years. And I feel it's served me very well. I'm 75 years old, and I'm never sick, I'm never tired. I sleep 4.5 hours a night. But I haven't arrived. I'm always learning and growing. And so I love to have these information seminars because I can share with you what I know. It helps me to remember too, and you can share with me with what's going on. So we titled it, How to Have what was the title? Successful Summer? And I was trying to think, what makes the summer different? Well, here's the deal for me, because if you live in a climate like Chicago, like I do, I think the most important thing that you can take to you with summer is spending time outside in the sun, in your bare feet, walking in the soil, getting in touch with the earth again. I may sound a little woo-woo with that, but here's the deal. I don't believe for 1 minute that man was created to grow up in a little cubicle stacked on top of each other with controlled temperature, riding around on wheels every place you went. I mean, we're supposed to be walking, we're supposed to be in the sun, we're supposed to have bare feet. So number one tip for a successful summer is getting outside as much as you can. And you know, those of you living in beautiful warm climates already, Hawaii and California, you got it already. That's why you moved there, right? So that you could be outdoors. But just don't get caught up in, you know, just life shoulds all the time. I think a summertime is a wonderful time to kind of incorporate, because we spent isolation, especially what's gone on these past year or so with the whole COVID and people being isolated. So I say, let's get out, let's enjoy each other, let's be barefoot, let's hang out in the sun. I have a garden now. For years, I was that person in the cubicle on top of each other for almost 30 years in a gorgeous high-rise, gorgeous building, but I was so disconnected and didn't even realize it, you know. So get out in the sun. Another thing that I do, and I'm saying, I call this summer, it's something I do all the time, but it's a great time to start new things for yourself, you know, set new intentions for transformation. Because I truly believe that it's great to have a beautiful car, a beautiful wife, gorgeous husband, lots of money, great job, great kids, but I don't really believe that's what we're here for. You know, I kind of think we're here for the evolution of our soul. So it's a great time to say, where am I going to add some transformation? What am I going to do for my transformation? Because as far as I'm concerned, it's always learning and growing. You know, I've been raw food vegan for 50 years, but I'm still learning and growing. I'm far from finished. As a matter of fact, one of the things I'm going to tell you guys about, my new sugar break, we'll get to that later. But it's all about the evolution. And so to evolve, you have to continue to bring new stuff in. You can't get stuck in one place. You have to keep bringing in new things. So it's a great time. Pick up that book that you bought last winter and you didn't finish and go sit out and read it. You know, find a new habit that you know is going to help in your transformation. Okay, here's one. Pick one day of the week to make it a sacred healing day, or whatever you want to call it, one day a week, right? And so say, if you're a meat eater, maybe one day a week you're going to be a vegetarian. And if you're a vegetarian, maybe one day a week you're going to be a vegan. And if you're a cooked vegan, I'm going to try this one day a week. I'm going to do all raw, 100% raw, and see how I feel. And then if you're all raw, then you're going to take the next step with me, the whole sugar thing. We're going to get to that. I'm teasing you. Anyway, so find a day of transformation for yourself. If you're all raw, then make it one day that you just juice all day. It's just a juice day for you. I'm not going to call it a fast. but have a day of fasting for yourself. But pick one day out of the week this summer because, there's so much abundance in the summertime. It gives you a little leeway to kind of change yourself and do something a little different. I used to, my day when my children was growing up, I would make Mondays my juice fast day. And it was because if I was going to do anything out of different from my intention that I set for myself, it was going to be on the weekend. So Monday was my juice fast day, or my juice, whatever I did, all juices day, and it was like, it whipped me right back into shape. So why don't you set the intention to maybe do one day a week, and then let that day of the week build. Maybe then it'll be 2 days, then 3 days, and then you're into a full whatever, and you've got change and transformation, and you can choose something else. So summer is a good time to make those kind of intentions. And you remember, you have to give attention to the intention, but it's a great time to do that. So wait, I kind of made a list here in case I didn't remember everything. Okay. Okay, so now it's actually really a good time if you've been thinking about trying to be more raw, if you've been plant-based vegan, but you want to go raw, summer is the best. That's why we automatically tend to eat more salads. We eat more lighter foods because it's easier to do in the warm weather. So maybe you pick a day, maybe in the summertime, this is when you start trying or working at bringing more raw into your diet. So some of you that are new to this may wonder, well, why would I want to be more raw? So I'm just going to throw that in for the new people with us here today. Raw is the way God intended, or spirit universe, every animal on this planet to eat. Humans are the only animals that voluntarily cook their food. No other animal on the planet cooks their food except human beings. And our pets that we feed, we give them cooked food too, and they get the same challenges we do: obesity, diabetes, cancer. Animals in the wild don't get these diseases because they're eating what was intended for their nature, raw living foods. And we need raw living foods because we have living cells in our body. So think about it. How can something dead actually supply and help something that's living? It really can't. It takes you in the other direction. So no matter what your health choices are, going more raw is going to benefit you 100%. Because your body can use it. I mean, it's the way God intended us to eat, is 100% raw. And it's not that difficult, believe it or not, once you start, especially doing it during the summer, warmer months, especially in our climate. So I talked about that. Great time to do yoga too, because your body is heated and warm, so you're going to be more flexible. So if you've been thinking about a yoga class, but here's the deal, maybe you can find something outside. So many of us, for years, I did yoga, but I did yoga indoors. I did ballet, but I did ballet. So everything I was doing was indoors. Then I started to run, and that was a whole new experience with the sun on me. So now I walk a lot. I walk about 3 miles a day. And some of you know or remember I had a accident about 3 years ago. I have a pen in my knee, and I was on a walker, and they were making all these predictions for me, especially at my age. It was supposed to define me for the rest of my life. In my 70s, you get a fall like that, and I'm walking 3 miles a day out in the sunshine. It's beautiful. It's wonderful. And the other point to that story is, I don't think there's ever a final answer. They can't, this isn't a symptom or something going on. Is supposed to be an intention to get past it and move forward. All right, so when they told me that I'd be on that walker and I wouldn't dance anymore, for a hot second I was like, oh no, and then I said, wait, I don't believe that, and I've changed it. So we all have these capabilities. It's all up here. It's all in getting in touch with yourself again, And yeah, I've got answers that I would love to see you do, but you have to find them for yourself. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a scientist. I've done none of this through any of those channels. It's all been through healing, changing, and transforming myself. All the women in my family died overweight and very young. My mom died at 47, my grandmother died at 50, and my great-grandmother died at 60. So at 75, I've turned it around. And so I guess I want to say also is that I wouldn't take any challenge as a sentence for the rest of my life. I wouldn't be comfortable saying, oh, my mother, if this person had it, because we can make those changes. The body is a self-regenerating organism. You're getting new cells every 7 years. You're getting new tissue every 3 months. You're getting new bone marrow. The body is totally regenerating itself. But what are you putting in here? I know I'm supposed to be talking about summer, because of the summer, but you know what? Nothing else matters if you don't have your health and your vitality, right? I can tell you to go outside, but if you don't feel like it, you can force yourself to do it, but wouldn't it be wonderful to feel like it? And I'm saying the choices that you make on a consistent basis relates to everything going on in your life, 2,000%. So I know people say to me, well, I only do a little bit of this, or I don't do. Well, I know when I was teaching 20 years ago, 30 years ago, they used a person you know will have cancer. Well, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a doctor, but you know what? I've been around 75 years and I can see everything on our planet has changed drastically and not all for the best. So it's to me, taking charge, being responsible for yourself as much as you can. I'm at my office and people are coming in. Do we have any questions yet? No? Do we have any questions yet? We have people coming in the center right now. Do you have any of your thoughts? What are you doing to make the summer special? Okay, well, I'll finish talking. All right. Anyway, let's see, what else did I have on here for secrets? I know. Great time to organize. Great time to get things organized. You know, in the winter or the other months of the year, it doesn't matter where you're living, we get kind of bound into where we are and things don't necessarily stay in the order. Or even if they are in order, maybe it's time to change that order. You know, look in your refrigerator, look in your cupboard, clean it out, see what's in there. Maybe that mustard's been in there 2 years now, you know. I don't know. Maybe you have things in there that you're no longer eating. Maybe you have things growing their own stuff in there in the moment, you know. So it's a good time to clean out your refrigerator because that's the heart of your home is your refrigerator and your pantry, you know. Make it look beautiful, have all new, have lots of room for all the new stuff you're going to be doing and bringing in.
One of the questions is, what is the best time for yoga?
What is the best? I think any time is best for yoga, but I do my yoga very early in the morning. I do a practice called Agnihotra. It's a fire ceremony, and it's when the sun comes up. You know, there's all kind of restrictions, and I'm sure a real yogi could tell you what they feel is the best time. For me, I've always done it early in the morning. I'm an early riser. I do all my meditation. I do my yoga. But sometimes I will do yoga again in the evening. And I say the best time is when you can do it comfortably and consistently. Because we can get all kinds of rules about things, and it's like, well, you know, I'm supposed to do yoga at 6 in the morning, and I missed it, and then you don't do it. So I say the best time is when you can conveniently and consistently do it, because consistency is the most important thing. What I found over the years is you know, there are all kinds of rules. Believe me, guys, you have no idea half of what people are doing now. We weren't allowed to do 40 years ago in the whole raw food movement. But what I found is that when you get consistent, universe, spirit kind of puts you in the place of how it's supposed to be done. You don't have to make it happen. Once you get consistent, everything around you falls into place to make it work at the right time. I hope I answered your question. Yes?
Song Sparrow from YouTube asks, how did you recover from the death of someone close to you?
How did I recover from the death of someone close to me? Wow. Well, I think the recovery came on its own. I also lost my son 8 years ago. He was 38 years old, so I've had a lot of, and I was what I call the light bearer for my mother, my grandfather, and many people in my life, my husband's mother. I was with them when they transitioned on to the next thing. I think building my own spiritual beliefs really helped me. It turned it around. I still believe that I had to do the grieving, you know. Like losing my son, it's like losing one of your limbs to you. You know, you learn to walk again or use your arm again where it was, but you always know it's gone. So I think it helped me push me further in my own spiritual practice, because I truly believe every challenge that comes our way is to help us grow. It's to help us with the evolution of ourselves, our souls, and everything we're supposed to be doing. So from losing someone close to you to losing everything that you have, do you sit back and allow it to become a victim, or do you work through it? Do you find the tools, and those tools that you find actually help you to grow? After I lost my son, I spent a year saying prayers every single day for him. I was brought up high, so there's specific prayers that you say every day. You know, look into the traditions that you grew up with. Maybe those are things to grab onto again. But I like to remember that the people, in some of my mystic teachings, they say that when the people leave, if we stay too long in grief, you hold them back from their own joy. I think it was Campbell, he told the story how all the little altar boys were in heaven and they had candles and they were all lit, and there was one little boy that was left behind, that he couldn't join the other boys, and they asked him why. He says, because my mother's tears are putting out my candle. So I think the thing to remember is the joy that the loved one brought you, the memories, and to take care of yourself, because that's what they would want. I hope that helps.
Marilyn Boykins from YouTube. Hi Karyn, what do you recommend for sunscreen, since the news has lately said that certain ones give you cancer?
Yeah, that's very true. Well, I have a product. I'm not here to hawk my products, but you can check out my website and see the sunscreen that we use. But here's the deal. I'm going to throw you another side to that, because I believe the sun is so important for humans, and I believe all this fear that we have around the sun and being in the sun needs to find a way to work around it, because the sun is life. And what I found when I was very young, and I would go in the sun, and I'm, African American, I have dark skin, and I would go in the sun and I would get these blotches all over. It was like sun poisoning. I get blisters and blotches all over my body, even though I'm dark and African American. I would get sunspots. And once I turned my diet around and I started eating primarily greens, I was taking in the greens instead of just being outdoors in the greens. I was literally drinking green juice and wheatgrass and spirulina and all the greens. I believe my internal environment turned around, and so now I just brown. I mean, we used to have a boat. I was on the sun, and I didn't use sunscreen. I didn't use anything. I'm not telling you to go there, like I said, but I truly believe that we're not supposed to be allergic to the sun. We're not supposed to be frightened from the sun. I would not lie out and bake in it, I wouldn't, lie for hours and bake in it. But I don't think that we need that vitamin D. So you can research mine if it, if it speaks to you, because there are some healthy ones out there. I have one, or check it out. But I go in the sun, and I don't even put sunscreen on my face, and I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm so comfortable. Here's my thing too. The sun feeds the plant, so I become so green internally. I'm kind of like a little plant.
Can raw vegan diet help with anxiety and stress?
Can a raw vegan diet help with anxiety and stress? And I preface everything here, folks, that I'm not a doctor and I'm not a scientist. I'm only going from my own experience. But I truly, logically, I believe that it does contribute, the negative foods, because all those chemicals in the foods, just think about it. Everything you put in your mouth is having a reaction in your body. And some people's bodies are able to handle those things for a while. Okay, and then something eventually comes out. I have worked with people over the years that have actually gone off of, with their doctor's recommendation, so many of their medications and things, by especially giving up the animals. Because when you think about it, when you eat animal, and they do have free range now and things like that, and God forbid, for your sake, if you're going to eat them, you'll go for those. I don't think any animal's happy to be on your plate, though. The horror and terror that they go through on the way to slaughter, all these hormones and things are released in them, and then it becomes a part of you. You can't separate it. So I do believe the diet plays a huge factor in all the discomfort that people are feeling now. There's so much discomfort. My teacher, Sandra, says, Man has more than they've ever had in the history of the planet. Good, and so much good stuff. So life's so easy, and there's so much stress, anxiety, and uncomfortability. And I take it back to, this is where I think going outside in the sun, barefoot, walking around, would really, there's a lot of healing in that, in my opinion.
From the Zoom meeting,
Oh, can I see it?
GLF Tech asked.
Is that her?
Um,
Oh, hey, Sandra.
GLF Tech asks, do you ever have tastings?
Well, when I had a restaurant, I don't know if you guys know, I had the longest standing raw food restaurant in the country until we closed a few years ago. We had free food everywhere for people to come in, and we used to do a big Sunday brunch. What we are doing now is, because that COVID thing kind of changed so much for us, I do food prep classes. I have a whole facility, and we do dinner party food prep classes where 12 of your friends come in. I teach some of the food, but you have this big, but we're going to be opening up on the other side, doing some little tastings again. Oh, and I'm going to be doing boxes of food we're going to be sending away too.
How do you eat raw in the winter?
How do I eat raw in the winter? Well, first of all, a lot of it is your internal environment. When you bring your chemistry in balance, which doesn't happen overnight, it really makes a difference. I mean, we don't have feathers or fur, so we're supposed to be able to be in environments and kind of change to them automatically. Maybe not as drastic as the Midwest or places like that in Europe, but one thing you can do is you can add ginger to your foods. That will internally warm you. You can put a little cayenne pepper in your socks don't put it on your bare skin and your shoe, and it will warm your whole body. When I had my restaurant, we had a salad bar. We had cayenne pepper, because we're in Chicago. Everybody put cayenne pepper on their food when they came in my restaurants. Eating the warmer foods, those foods. And think about it. It's raw until it's 120 degrees. I like to think 119, 18, 15, but that's pretty hot. So if you had like a little thermometer, and you wanted to make yourself a cacao chocolate or something, you could put the thermometer in and do it just to 119, and it still feels warm. It would take a little extra work, but what I find is the longer you eat this way consistently, the more your body adapts to going from temperature to temperature. I don't use air conditioning. I have a fireplace that I put on, and so I think my body pretty well flows between the temperatures, and I think that could happen for anybody consistently being raw. Do the ginger and cayenne.
Nicole Jones from YouTube, does going raw vegan trigger hair loss? I'm about to start my vegan journey and want to know what foods should I concentrate on to help with hair.
So I'm going to make an assumption that question is coming from you don't feel you're getting enough protein. Tell me if I'm wrong. So here's the deal. Animal protein, okay, I'm not a scientist. And my daughter has hair down to here, I have hair, and I haven't had animal products. You're worrying about your protein levels. If you are, even potatoes have 12 grams of protein in them. I don't think you have to worry about a protein loss. If you're not being like a Twinkies eater vegan, you know what I'm saying? If you're putting some thought to it, and there's so much on the internet now, and I counsel and work with people also making the transition. But you see, you're an instinctual animal, and if you can get to your base, which you do through detoxing and cleansing, and we have those classes available also, you kind of know what's right. I have seen people, we don't have my PowerPoint, do we have the PowerPoint? Oh. I wish I had my PowerPoint to show you, but we have a woman that had been vegan for 25 years, and Joette Waters, and she was balding, and she always wore hats and things, and she did my detox class, and we actually have pictures of her hair where it started to grow in. Because you see, it's not just the protein, you're using a lot of chemicals in general. You have to see what's in the shampoos you're using. There's so much. And my main way of getting collagen and feeling comfortable with protein for my hair and skin is Irish moss. Very popular right now. We sell it, and we sell it unmade, so you can make it for yourself too. But add some Irish moss to your food menu of what you're doing, and I use it on my skin, I use it in my hair, I use it in my smoothies, I use it with my raw vegan yogurt. I get at least 2 tablespoons of Irish moss in every day. Throw that in with your change too.
Wendy Liang from YouTube. I am a type 1 diabetic, and I heard that type 2s can reverse this disease through a raw diet. What about type 1s?
Well, I actually had a woman that was type 1 diabetes that took my class. You know who I'm thinking of? Yeah, and that other girl too. Anyway, I've had a couple of type 2 diabetics. I cannot, type 1 I mean. I know that they benefited incredibly, and that's why they kept taking it. I can't tell you, I don't feel they got over it, but their insulin was much more manageable from my understanding. So I think you could make a huge difference. By the way, you're going to make a huge difference with everything, okay? Let me just throw this one little thought to you. Think about it. We're kind of born, we're a little baby like this, right? When you're born, how do you get to be this size? From every piece of food. Yes, you come with predisposed weaknesses, but the rest of it grows out by what you put in here, and it develops by what you put in here. So you cause and effect, it has to make a difference.
Steph Coe from YouTube. Dr. Furman emphasizes the nutritional value of beans, but it is hard to eat beans raw. What is your thoughts?
Well, I eat beans, but I sprout them, okay? So you sprout the beans, and what I would recommend if you're going to eat them, even sprout them before you cook them, if you choose to cook them, because it'll be easier on your system and you won't get gas. But it'll be much easier on your system if you sprout them ahead of time. But I eat beans all the time, azuki, every kind of bean there is. I just sprout it ahead of time. It has like a cooked flavor to me, and I make, we used to make raw chili, you know, with sprouted beans. So sprout them, and you're not going to be eating tons of them all day, although I do know a lot of people that come to the vegan world and all they eat is beans and rice and beans and rice, and it's a nice transition, but you don't want to get stuck there.
In a similar vein, Sahuba McGee.
Oh, I see somebody up there. Is that Kitty? What is it? Who is that? Hi, I wish I could. Go ahead.
Yeah, Sahuba McGee from YouTube. Hi, Karyn. By you being raw, you don't eat beans or legumes?
Oh, you missed what I said just a minute ago. I do, but I eat them sprouted. And it can take a little longer for like some of the harder, but everything can grow a little tail and then it becomes alive. And you can keep sprouting until it gets kind of soft even. But no, I do eat them. It's not like I eat tons of anything, because here's the deal. When you're raw, it doesn't take very much to fill you up. I like to remind people, if you hold up your fist, this is the size of your stomach. It's a tiny little sack in there. And that's all it really needs. So I eat so little food, it's unbelievable, but I have so much more energy, because the digestive system is the hardest working system in the body. And the more you use it, the quicker it wears out. My understanding, allergies, all kinds of things are coming from the digestive system, which is why I do digestive enzymes myself. I learned about it from, who's the guy, the book? Victoria Skolvenskis, my teacher, and Dr. Howell wrote an excellent book on enzymes for humans. So check that out.
I have a two-part detox question. From the Zoom, Sandra Jackson.
Oh, hi, Sandra.
Asks, do you plan to do the detox program live again?
Oh, sure. Sandra's one of my old detoxers. She's been around forever. Yes, I will do it because I get so many requests. Doing it in the classroom, I don't know, because it depends on how this whole thing pans out for, COVID and how many people can get together and whatever. We can't here hold more than 20 people. Sandra, when you used to take them, we'd have 100 and something people in the class. This space, physical space, we can only get about 25 in here. But I miss it. I so miss that interaction. I mean, that's what I'm all about. That's how I started all this, was teaching detox classes 45 years ago. But here's a good time for me to do a little commercial, okay? See this little red band on my arm? Because I was an original detoxer. I learned it from Dr. Ann Wigmore and Victoria Skolvenskis. And I was teaching detox classes 40 years ago. Everybody does detox now, okay? And then I went to teaching cleanses, and everybody's doing cleanses now. Good news, it's good news for the world and the planet. And then I did the reboots, and now everybody's doing reboots, good news for the planet. So now I've got something new. It's almost ready. I'll give you a little hint about it. I'm going to do a whole thing, and then actually I'm going to do a live with Victor about it. I'm going to do a live with Johnny Juicer because he's on the other side with the all fruit people. But one of my little things, it's not totally ready yet, is I'm going to be doing a sugar break. Oh, that's it. So I will be talking about that. Stay tuned. And I'm going to be doing it with you. It's a little 10-day sugar break. So stay tuned. That will be coming soon. So yes, Sandra, I miss seeing your face in class. Okay? I miss you.
Julia Reed just wants to say hello from Colorado.
Oh, my Julia. God, I miss you too. How many years ago did you did my detox in person? Maybe 20-something years ago. But we recently worked together one-on-one. And she was a star student, I have to say. And we really want to get your testimony. I keep saying that, but I don't want to do it. I got to get somebody to talk to you for me to help me with it. But miss you too, Julia. You said you might be coming through Chicago soon. I hope. Anyway, hi, Julia.
Okay, Shelly Smith from YouTube. Do you have any thoughts on calcium intake, supplements, and osteoporosis?
Well, I'm not being a doctor or a scientist. I can only give you my experience. I don't worry about osteoporosis. You know, everything has calcium and usable calcium in it for your body. All the greens, all the calcium you need. You're getting tons of it with. Most people have more of a magnesium deficiency than calcium deficiency. They don't even realize it. But the reality is you get calcium in just about everything. And all the animals that we choose to use for calcium, the cows, he's eating greens. He's not eating cat milk to build up the calcium in his system, right? He's eating greens if he were allowed to. In a crazy world, they don't even get many greens these days, so who knows what you're getting with your calcium. But what I can say is I have no concerns for calcium deficiency. I raise my children without dairy. There are entire societies that don't do dairy and don't worry about calcium. Up until recently, I mean, if you go back a few centuries, the Asians weren't eating cheese and whatever, maybe a little ice cream in there, and it's not a nation of people with osteoporosis. The Seventh-day Adventists, they started out with what, a few thousand people, and they're millions now, and they don't do dairy. So I think you have to rethink and relook and do more research. But I feel I'm getting all the calcium I need from all the greens I eat. But you got to incorporate some greens, okay?
I have a natural toothpaste with xylitol. I like it clean, but she likes it because it keeps it clean but doesn't keep the plaque away. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you know what I do for the plaque? I do oil pulling. I'm a big fan of oil pulling. I've done it for about 15, 20 years. So you will see a huge change. What I do is I take I use coconut oil. You might want to start with a teaspoon, but you want to work up to a tablespoon. And you just swish it in your mouth for about 20 minutes. And it whitens your teeth. It breaks down the plaque. It's amazing what's available with that. So I would research oil pulling. I rinse my mouth with hydrogen peroxide. I also use another product that I have regularly. I don't know that it's specifically working on the plaque, but I'm feeling that I'm keeping my gums and everything well oxygenated, so I'm not as concerned. And I have a natural dentist too, so I hope that helps.
As a vegan, where do you get your B12 from?
Well, I'm real big on fermented foods and seaweeds. So I love fermented foods, and we make a product called Rejuvelac, and I actually have it in my book, the recipe for how to make Rejuvelac, and that's not mine. I learned it from Dr. Wigmore and Victor. When you're doing your vegan yogurts, the probiotics, I'm getting B12. But the seaweed is another way. I do a lot of dulse and nori and things like that. You get B12. But I certainly recommend, if you're not eating this way and you're concerned, get a good sublingual and put it under your tongue. We used to have a doctor here doing B12 shots, but get a good sublingual if you're not going to do it the way I am.
How long do you sprout them for? How long should the sprouted stem be?
For the beans? Well, you want a little tail. You want it to, and I don't know how long that's going to take in your area with the air and the water and whatever. Generally, I would say when I sprouted beans, I used to make this, what was that big salad? I used to make yucca salad with all the greens. I think it took me about a week to almost get the beans to where I want it sprouted. So you just keep watching for the little tail. You know, be your own little scientist. I had to. Nobody told me. You can do it too. Okay, so you know, just keep rinsing and letting them sit, and you'll see the tail start to come out. When you get just a little tiny tail coming out, see how soft it feels to chew, and you're ready to eat it.
What can you expect after your first colonic? Does it make you more mindful of what food and drink you consume?
I wish one colonic could do that. We're all looking for that one quick fix. I'd have them lined outside the door. Unfortunately, you just don't get from A to Z overnight. And your first colonic can have an array of different results, from nothing came out to everything came out to I feel great till I still, because you're stirring things up. Remember, you have 5 feet of colon in there. And some of you, most of you, are walking around with 6 to 30 pounds of fecal matter. So one colonic is not going to get 30 pounds of fecal matter out. It may feel like 30 pounds comes out if you have a great colonic, but so I went to colon therapy school, and one of the things I learned is that they felt that people should do a series of 10 once or twice a year. When you do my detox class, my 28-day detox, we do them either enemas or colonics every day for 2 weeks, starting with the second week. I'm a huge proponent of it, not that I'm a scientist or a doctor, but the Egyptians did it. They used to use reeds and gourds. Pythagoras, they did it in his first vegetarian village. It's been around forever. It's cleaning out all the old stuff. And people don't realize, even if you're going to the bathroom every day, you still could be constipated, because what goes in must come out. And if you're eating 3 times a day, make 3 times a day. 5 times a day, make 5 times a day. And even if you are, you still aren't necessarily getting everything unless you're putting in everything right. I was a horribly constipated child. I used to go to the bathroom once a week, once or twice a week. The doctors told my mother, oh, that's just her system. Well, it can't be just my system. I was horribly constipated. I had terrible skin, I felt, because of it. And now, with all the detoxing and cleansing that I've done over the years, I'm like a dog. I eat 20 minutes later, I poop. Seriously, it doesn't stay in me at all, and it's really quite wonderful. Believe it or not, your bowel movements are important. So check out the colonic. I don't know what you can expect this first time. I had people started on the second week of my detox because we did a lot of stuff to prepare for it. You know, you had changed your diet. I had you doing our psyllium and clay and the magnesium, the ozonated so we were doing things to get ready for it, so when you came in and laid on the table, the body was ready to release and go. But some of you may be ready to release and go already. And I will tell you, one of the best colonics I ever had before I had my own center, I was at my friend's place. There were only 2 places in Chicago at the time, and I was getting a colonic, and I was talking to my daughter on the phone, and my daughter is so hysterically funny. And I was laughing so hard, and as I laughed, the stuff was just flying out the tube. It was. I laughed my ass off. Oh. Anyway, so you know, go in with an open mind and an open butt and see what happens. But I can't give you any expectations to look for.
Foods to treat chronic hives.
Yeah, hives to me, I don't know scientifically, but what I've seen anecdotally over the years, a lot has to do with yeast in your system and digestion. So I would definitely look in to see where yeast is created in your system. The skin is the largest eliminative organ on the body. So when the liver and the kidneys get overworked, it starts throwing whatever it needs to out through the skin. So I would definitely investigate that. I do one-on-ones, we have classes, but, and you know, we have a therapy if you're in the Chicago area. We do ozone bathing, and a lot of people have had wonderful results with the ozone bathing. You know, but I don't know what you're using on your skin too. I don't know what you're eating, so there's so many other components to that to look to, okay?
Wanda Sanders from YouTube, any suggestions for
Menopause? Well, it depends on the symptoms you're having, okay? If you're feeling like at a loss and you're just feeling kind of disgruntled or just not yourself, great time to dive into something new and to change your diet. I actually went through menopause with no symptoms whatsoever. It was funny, I was like late 40s or maybe I was 56. I think I was about 56 when I went through menopause or started to go through, but I had no idea it was menopause. I went out and took a pregnancy test because I hadn't had a period because I had no symptoms. Very often that's sugar related. In my opinion, it's sugar related. All the hot flashes or the mental stress, and it's all about the sugar intake. And a lot of times we may start even taking in more sugar because we're feeling emotionally distraught. You know what, I remember the only effect that it really had on me emotionally was I'm not in control of myself 100%. You know, I think it kind of hit me. No matter what I do, how I'm eating, life is still going to move forward. You know, I'm going to die like everybody else one day, and there are things that are out of my control that I can't handle. Watching your sugar intake, which once again you might want to check out the sugar break that we're all going to be talking about and doing. So
I drink Rejuvelac instead of water alone. Can that help as enzymatic supplementation? I love you, Kate.
Oh, I love you back. Absolutely, but I wouldn't stop drinking water altogether, okay? I would get in at least 2 nice big glasses of Rejuvelac and have it as much as you want, but you still want to drink God, universe's planet of water. Do you know what I'm saying? Because that's what was created for us. We've created all these wonderful things to counteract what's happened with the world and ourselves, but water, you really want good, pure, clean, fresh, and I'm learning about structured water too, folks. I used to have an ozonator. I had ozonated water for years, still love that. And then I got the pH water, and now, and I've done the reverse osmosis, which I think is the best. I don't have a distiller. My teacher Victor does. He says that's the best. But I'm getting ready to learn more and get a structured water machine. So stay tuned. I will be talking more about that. I'm changing. See what I'm saying? You don't stay stuck. You continue to learn and grow. I'm not saying you need to try every new thing. I mean, I've been doing the pH water for 10 years now, and I did the ozone for 10 before that. Now I'm going to try structured water.
So Google McGee from YouTube, what is the difference between a detox and a cleanse?
The word. DC. One starts with a D, one starts with a C. It's just, you know, when I was teaching detox classes 45 years ago, nobody had heard of it. And when you said detox, they thought you were coming off of drugs or booze, right? That's the only thing detox. And I learned from Dr. Ann Wigmore, who started the raw food movement and the detoxing strength during our lifetime. So I learned from her about detoxing. But then after that, then the whole world was doing detoxing. So I just thought, why don't we call it a cleanse? And then that became the trend, you know, and then reboot, and then that became the trend. I think any time that you make an active choice to do something different, you're cleansing. I think when you detox, you're actively taking things to pull stuff out. I don't know if that makes sense.
Okay, who's here? G. Lee from YouTube. Hi Karyn, what would you recommend for someone that has prostate cancer?
Yes. Well, I do know someone kind of close to me that was going through that, a family member, and here's what I found. There's so much research to do on this for you, but there are some definite changes, like your system, any type of cancer, in my opinion, is very happy and volatile in an acidic environment. So the more alkaline you make your system, the better chances I feel you're going to have. But also, you know, cancer is cancer, and if it's in one part of the body, it's systemic, it's brewing someplace else. So I think looking for an overall change is going to make a difference with everything, not just worrying about the prostate or just the breast or just the brain or whatever. That's where it's showing up and flourishing. But I think any overall changes, certainly people have seen incredible results with all types of cancer. They've reported back to me from my 28-day detox. I think there's some certain foods that are definitely like olives, and there's different herbs and things, saw palmetto and stuff, but I'm not recommending that. I'm recommending a whole flush of the body to help it fight, because cancer loves sugar, mucus, yeast, and acid. And that's 99% of what people are taking into their systems in some form in these foods, and sugar being the number one. We're going to talk about this soon. Sugar being the number one. So I think making lifestyle changes could definitely help. Oxygen can help, but like I said, I don't like to take the body apart in just one thing. from what I've read and learned, that cancer cells can't live in an oxygenated environment, which is why we do hyperbaric chamber therapies here, and we do ozone bathing here. And I have the oxygen drops that I take these every morning. These I keep by and put in my nose when I'm brushing my teeth. So I do add oxygen to my diet, even though I'm doing all the juicing and stuff, because when man was created, the oxygen levels were at 38%. And after the Industrial Revolution, they were down to 22%. So we're living in the teens in terms of oxygen in our environment. Humans weren't meant to be stable in this amount of oxygen. Cancer cells thrive. And here's the deal, in my world, we all have cancer cells at some point, but do we create a perfect environment for those to come together like a little army and attack you? So I definitely think that you could make a difference. There are actually some doctors that are working with ozone therapies with people, medical doctors. We have one near us here too. We have people get wonderful results with our hyperbaric chambers and diet changes, lifestyle changes. So there's a whole bunch, because guess what? You didn't do one thing, or the person didn't do one thing to get it. They did a whole bunch of things before it came. So it takes some motivation, work, and effort. But in my world, from what I've seen, the past 50 years working with people, and Dr. Wigmore worked with thousands and thousands and thousands of people, it can be turned around.
When you sprout beans, does it...
From cancer to sprouted beans, I love it.
Gassy, bloated feeling?
Yes, it does get rid of that gassy, bloated feeling. My great-grandmother, who wasn't into any of this, used to actually put a little baking soda on the beans when she soaked them. She always soaked them overnight. She didn't sprout them. I'm suggesting sprout, but she didn't soak them. She just added a little baking soda, let them sit overnight, and then cooked them, and we didn't fart around the house all day.
Is there a natural organic birth control?
I'm asked that quite a bit, and I would not feel comfortable. I can say I actively did not get pregnant after my daughter, and it was on purpose, but I did a lot of research with yams and other stuff like that. I feel there's a lot of research out there. I believe it can be done, yes. I'm not going to tell you what to do with it, because what if you don't do it right and then you get pregnant? No.
What is the most healing thing to juice?
Greens, 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 greens. Any of the greens. There's a reason God puts so much greenery on the planet, and it's not just for walking and picnics. It's to be ingested. So what I learned, and you should see this beautiful juicer, the Pure Juicer people sent me to try, and I'm gonna whirl it up next week. It's very similar to the Norwalk, the first juicer I had. It's a press. And I'm going to do a juice, and I'm going to make a lot of people mad. What I juice every day from my garden, I juice either kale or kale or Swiss chard, and I mix it with cucumber water, fresh cucumbers, and sometimes I grab some dandelions from my garden. But I think the greens, and I have a problem with drinking straight fruit juice and so much fruit. But if you are going to mix the fruit with the greens, you are going to create more gases in your system too. And I'm not saying that's bad, but greens. So do juice or greens. And I know everybody combines them now. So God bless you. As long as you're doing juice, I'm going to be happy.
What are the benefits of wheatgrass, and can I juice it in the Tri-Best Green Star?
Definitely you can juice it in the Tri-Best Green Star, because the wheatgrass needs a very slow motor so that it doesn't oxidize. So I have an actual wheatgrass juicer that's very slow, but most of you, especially triturating juicers, you cannot use it. Yes, in the Green Star you can use wheatgrass. Wheatgrass, about an ounce of it has the same, my understanding, it has the same benefits as 300 pounds of oranges for vitamin C. I mean, it just ups the, spikes up the nutritional value of anything your body would need. Dr. Wigmore, who discovered wheatgrass for us, and Victor, she healed herself of terminal cancer with us with the raw food diet. She's written books on it. She was my teacher. She was my mentor, and she did phenomenal things. She learned about it. She was from Lithuania, and her grandmother was working with the soldiers and the wounded during the war, and she would use the healing grasses. And then when Dr. Ann came to the United States, first she had diabetes, and then she healed that. And then she was diagnosed with terminal cancer, and she actually had her father carry her out to fields just to eat grass, because she remembered what her grandmother had taught her in Lithuania. ultimately, we got the Norwalk and some original juices, and Victoris Kovenskas, who was my teacher also and mentor, and he will be coming on live with me probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks, so stay tuned. Victor knows it all. Believe me, he is the most brilliant, humble human being on the planet, and he started the whole thing, and you hardly even hear his name anymore. Survival in the 21st Century, but I have his book. We have his book. Get his book, Survival in the 21st Century. The man knows everything. Anyway, Victor, they did all the research on wheatgrass, and the numbers are phenomenal. I'm sure you can get it all online now. So it's amazing the benefits that you get from grass. And here's the deal. When you first start doing it, you may start to get a little sick because it's a detergent. It's supposed to bring the mucus and all the stuff out. It's not supposed to be in your system. So people would come in my restaurant and they'd go, I can't do it anymore, it's making me sick. Well, that's what it's supposed to do. When it gets to the dirt, you feel uncomfortable. Eventually you get to a place after years. It was so bad for me. I used to live in Evanston and people would be mowing their lawns and I'd get sick smelling the grass from mowing their lawns. Now I can just down it all day as I please, but that's because my system is so alkaline and it's used to the greens. So do the wheatgrass, you'll love it.
Is wheatgrass juice powder a good alternative to fresh wheatgrass?
Of course, you know, always find the bridge to make it comfortable for you, to be consistent. Consistency is the most important thing that we need. I'd have people that would come in once a month. Oh, I'm going to do wheatgrass today. Well, so what? What else do you do the rest of the month? You know, that one little ounce of wheatgrass isn't going to offset the eggs, the bacon, the chicken, the the grits, the alcohol. 1 ounce of wheatgrass isn't going to do it, you know. So whether it's powdered, whether it's frozen, whether it's fresh, consistency is the most important thing to attend to. And this is what the new book's on too, is setting your attention to your intention.
Question about potassium. What are good foods and juices that have potassium? Thank you so much.
Oh, well, you know, you can get potassium out. Where's my... Well, everybody knows bananas, which is why in my green meal smoothie I have you put a banana in it for the potassium. So, you know, if you're eating a plant-based raw diet and you've been detoxing, you really don't go by the charts of what you're supposed to have. Your body will automatically take you there. I promise you, it's amazing. But tons of, you know, specific foods I'm not going to get into. You can go on the internet and see all of that.
Last question from Sahubu Naveed from YouTube. How much fresh juice do you consume daily? Thank you and blessings.
How much juice? Well, you know, it varies. Once again, like yesterday, I think I had 64 ounces of juice. Most days I have 32, but I have been known to drink more. So once again, that's what I was talking about before. I'm kind of led to what I'm supposed to do. You know, I don't go by any charts or anybody else's, this is the best for you or that's the best for you, do the, you know, 15 ounces of this or whatever. I keep my body cleaned out as often as I can. And then it kind of tells me, I kind of know. And yesterday I just drank juice all day. But I do, you know what I've been doing lately that's really cool, because I get to go to my garden, you know, and maybe that's what's spurring me on to want more and more juice. I'm kind of going crazy with it. I probably always get 13 ounces, 32 ounces in, some days 16, some days 64. Oh, they're telling me I gotta go. I don't wanna go. Anyway, this is so exciting to me because I love to share and be a part of your lives. And being old school, I like to hear what new school, where you're coming from too. I'm gonna do a quick commercial. I'm gonna be doing a whole thing on this new sugar break I'm talking about doing, which I think is totally everybody. You don't have to be a vegan, vegetarian, raw food. You can be carnivore, keto, paleo. I was a meat eater and became a vegetarian. I was like, oh my God, this is how you can feel. And I went from being a vegetarian to a cooked vegan. I went, really? We can feel like this? And then I went from cooked vegan to raw vegan, and I thought I could walk on water. And then I spent 6 months with no sugar, and I'm talking about honey, honey and maple syrup and agave and fruit. Yeah, I'm talking about fruit too. I'm going to do more on that, and I'm going to bring Victor on to talk with me about it also. Do your research. I'm just saying we're going to do 10 little short days, and I'll show you the kit. We got a couple more things. I made some balance bites to go in it to help you through it. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for giving me your time and spending this time with me. I so appreciate it. And remember that if you don't take care of your body, the most magnificent machine you'll ever be given, where are you going to live? Bye.